Pro boxing fans, we are here. It is fight week. Azim, how are you? First of all, it is a big fight for yourself against Ohara Davies. But first of all, how's things?
How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Just, I come back from Riyadh from a good fight week. Two elite fighters fighting each other. You can't go wrong with that. Yeah. But how's things with yourself?
Yeah, all good, man. All good. It looks like you catch the tan. So,
mate, I wish I did. I'm brown as it is, so I don't really need to catch too much of a tan. Let's talk about yourself, Ohara Davies. I do want to ask you first of all, when this got announced, there was a lot of people saying, "Listen, is this a fight harder than the Harlem Eubank fight?" Because we know OD's experienced. Listen, he might have come off a loss, which a lot of people didn't expect the way that loss happened. But in your eyes, do you believe that it's as tough as an opponent or tougher than Harlem Eubank?
Look, I think it's a tougher opponent than Harlem Eubank. Ohara Davies has been at that world level. He has fought in 3 world level title contenders. He did fight a world champion, Josh Taylor, did fight Catchall as well, and he's also fought, Barusa, who was a former world champion. And Harlem Eubank hasn't got had the experience to fight at the world level yet. And this is my first test and first, big fight that I've had for a really long time. So.
Obviously, I did want to actually just talk about that in regards to the experience that he possesses and the experience that you have. He's obviously up in regards to that. From what you've seen of OD in recent times, is there anything that you haven't seen before in your previous fights?
Look, OD, I know for years, and he's a great fighter. He's a good friend of mine as well. So he's a very awkward fighter, and he can also hit hard as well. He's a heavy-handed guy. So obviously I've got to be switched on for this fight, and I've just got to be mentally right for this fight. And I've had a really good camp. I've had 12 to 15 weeks camp, and I've had great sparring. So.
How much are you trying to block out this noise right now? Because whilst there is this fight, there's a lot of talk about, I'm going to talk to you about this later on, but Dalton Smith, who's talked to Ben Shalom whilst we're out in Riyadh. But how much are you sort of blocking out noise right now just to make sure you're doing the task at hand?
Do you know what? I'm not even bothered at all. These lot, they've been talking too much, so they can keep talking. But if I keep winning, then I can. The fight gets bigger itself. But look, that fight's gonna happen. They can wait, and when he does fight me, and the financials are right, the platform's right, obviously hopefully a stadium one day. But he's gonna thank me and be like, "Oh yeah, Adam's right. I should have waited." But we did wait, so.
Do you feel like whilst he's had the Zabeda fight, and I'm sorry for asking you about Dalton one more time, but he's had the Zabeda fight, that maybe the Ohara Davies fight is that level of opposition for you to match each other?
Yeah, of course. Ohara Davies, like I said, he's a world title contender. He's been fighting world champions, so it is that same caliber of opponent that obviously what William Zabeda did fight Dalton Smith. Then obviously this is my test right now. He's already had that acid test, a world title test. Now it's my time to obviously shine and do what I do best.
Talk to me about yourself health-wise. I know you wouldn't enter a fight if you weren't fully healthy, but you were coming off an injury, which is why there was a delay, and obviously there was stuff going on with Harlem Eubank stuff. Everything okay with yourself?
Yeah, all good. That time, that was obviously I twisted my ankle. I was running straight after the fight against Harlem Eubank got announced. The next day, I went out for a jog at 10 p.m. during fasting time. And one thing about me, when a fight gets announced, I like to get straight back into training and do what I do best. But I hit a pothole, twisted my ankle, and obviously my swelling got really bad. So I did take a couple of weeks off, and then when I did get back into training, it started to aggravate. So I had to completely just switch off and not do any training, because the only way you can heal, it's not for me not to train.
In regards to that, and this is the final one on yourself and anything else around that, but Harlem Eubank, that was announced, and it seemed that things weren't signed, and there's been Harlem Eubank's done interviews with his extension signing with Wasserman, talked about the situation. For you now, is that door closed, or do you feel like you can open that door at some point in the future?
The option's there. We need a big British dust up. Obviously me and Harlem. Not me and Harlem, so me and Ohara Davies, we're going to have a big, British showdown. That fight's going to happen. That's going to happen, probably next year, probably 2 years. We don't know, because he might want to take a different route. I was very enthusiastic to fight him, and on my side, I was ready to sign it October 5th at Brighton, but he wanted to take a different route. But at the moment, I'm just not really focusing on that. I'm just focused on my fight right now, and he's got to fight 1 week later. So.
Just the last two from myself. We were out in Riyadh for a big fight. Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol. I think as somebody who's a boxer, been in boxing for a long time, I'm sure you appreciated the level of skill that was in that ring. What did you make and how did you see that fight? Because every time I speak to somebody, everyone scored it slightly differently.
I thought it was a draw, like at first point, but when I watched it back the next day, the full 12 rounds, and I had Artur Beterbiev winning because obviously the 10th, 11th, and 12th, Bivol gave it away. He was consistent with the pace, consistent with the punches, and he was more active, and I gave it to Artur.
In regards to Frazer Clarke, I just want to reel off some of the boxer guys. Frazer Clarke coming off a devastating loss to Fabio Wardley. Any messages you want to send out to Frazer?
I just wish him the best of luck. I wish him a good health because obviously he did have an injury on his jaw. So he's a good friend of mine. So speedy recovery, and you'll be back soon, bigger and better.
Final one, Liam Cameron, Ben Whittaker, unusual circumstances falling out the ring, getting injured. Look, a lot of people have taken this negatively, or whichever way you want to take it online. What do you want to say to Ben about making that next step and next comeback into the ring?
Look, the rematch is there for him, like at any point. But I think for him, he might want to, when he have a warm-up fight, then get back into that fight. But he did have obviously an injury, so I wish him the best with that as well. So, but yeah, there's options there, but he'll be back.
Azim, good luck with the rest of fight week. I know it can get intense at this point, and you probably just want to eat. But thank you so much for talking to Pro Boxing fans. I appreciate your time, mate. Top man. Thanks.